myself so you know where I'm coming from. My name is Irshad, as you now know. I am a filmmaker, an author, and a human rights activist. I am also a faithful Muslim. And my religion is Islam. And I'll tell you, it's because I believe, as so many other Muslims believe, that God made all of us equal, that I am speaking up for the need for all religions to respect human rights. This clipping from the Globe and Mail tells the story of a 17-year-old Muslim girl in the African nation of Nigeria. Now, this girl stands accused of having premarital sex, even though she has actually proved that she's been raped. And in bright red ink, my boss writes on the side of the story, a truly politically incorrect question. He writes, Irshad, one of these days will you tell me how you reconcile this kind of insanity with your Muslim faith? Woohoo! Not exactly the kind of question you expect in a multicultural society, right? Where it's always supposed to be live and let live. Well, I'm offended by this question. So I neatly fold up the clipping, put it back into the envelope, and mutter under my breath, how dare you? Who are you to question my religion? You know what? I wouldn't applaud for that. I wouldn't applaud for that at all, and I'll tell you why. My answer, who are you to question my religion, was a total cop-out. It was a non-answer. It was an excuse to do nothing and to wallow in passivity. And you know how I know this? Because my conscience told me so. Hours later, I had to confront the fact that something was eating away at my soul. And I had to face what was happening to me. And let me tell you what I think was happening. My identity as a Muslim told me to get defensive. But, my friends, there is something much more important than identity today, and that is integrity. It means that you are authentic. Having integrity means that you're being honest with yourself, with your family, and with the world. And my integrity as a human being told me it was right to ask this question. And it was right for my conscience to be shaken by it. Keep the faith, God bless, and let us all embrace integrity more than popularity. You know, to this day, moderates still write me in very angry tones. I remember a self-defined moderate Muslim guy who wrote to me to say, Irshad Manji, you lie so much about Islam that even your hair rises up in protest. I was impressed by the unwitting sense of humor. But what I was not impressed by is the fact that he came back at me with a second point. He said, you are a prostitute. You are a whore for standing in front of audiences without being fully covered and speaking your mind freely. At which point I wrote back to him to say, sir, you realize with that first point about hair raising, you've given me more material for my speeches. And if giving those speeches makes me a prostitute, here's my question for you. Doesn't giving me material for them make you my pimp? Right? That leadership is all about using your personal voice, no matter what the personal consequences. And in a very different context, that's the situation in which I find myself today. As a faithful Muslim who has nonetheless written a book called The Trouble with Islam Today. a book that I readily admit has infuriated the vast majority of my fellow Muslims around the world. I shudder to think about it this way, but I may have more Muslims mad at me than George W. Bush has mad at him. Nah, he's got me beat by at least 500 million more, don't you think? Don't you think? Thank you, thank you. Work with me on this one. And the truth is, I can't make light of this. Some of my fellow Muslims are ready to kill me over this book. So, don't get too close during the book signing, all right? But this much I can tell you by way of good news. More and more young Muslims and Muslim women are quietly approaching me to ask, where did you find the courage, the chutzpah? They never use that word, but that's what they're referring to speak your mind despite threats against your life. Well, I say to them privately what I'm now going to share with all of you. And if you take nothing else away from my presentation this afternoon, please let it be this. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the recognition that some things are more important than fear. And inside, my mother wrote, among other things, I am so proud of your achievements. You go, girl. And wherever you go, don't forget, bring your voices with you. You may not know what you want to say with those voices. That's okay. Ask questions out loud. Because when you have the courage of your confusions, those questions will clarify what you believe, why you believe it, and whether you should believe it. And in having the courage of your confusions, you will inevitably be led to the courage of your convictions. May God bless you all, because if she doesn't, I'll be damned. Thank you very much. Thank you.